Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Letting Go of Her podcast. So, today, if I am being 100% honest, I had absolutely no idea what I was going to be talking about this week. It is currently Thursday night at 8:30 when I usually air these episodes Friday at 6 a.m. And I just kind of was thinking about it all day, and I'm like, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to talk about? I guess in a way I should see it as a blessing that this week there were no convictions, right? Because usually my episode topics are on whatever the Lord is teaching me this week. And not that the Lord isn't teaching me anything this week, but um, there was just nothing that one I can remember or two really stood out to me in terms of like, oh, I need to talk about this, right? And I think that that's okay. I think that there is like goodness in the calm, like there's goodness in the peace. Like, I should praise God right now that I don't have any convictions or that nothing drastic or dramatic is happening in my life. Like I should be dwelling in the peace that I have right now, right? Because who knows when something's going to happen or something's going to come up, and I can already tell that this weekend is going to be a very chaotic weekend. So maybe the Lord was like, you know what? I'm just going to give you a little bit of a break for a couple days, and then so you can kind of head on first for what's to come on the weekend, which I didn't even realize was coming until today. And now I'm like, try not to think about it. Try not to be anxious about it. But either way, I didn't know what I was talking about. And so I was just putting the kids to bed. And when I put the kids to bed, I read, and I've been reading this book called Rhythms of Renewal. And I can't think of the author right now, which I could look it up. But um, she was basically someone who started having panic attacks and was dealing with really bad anxiety. And she figured out some rhythms that helped her kind of combat it. And so it's a pretty interesting book. Some of them or some of the rhythms she gives, it's like, okay, but there are others where it's like, oh, wow, that's really helpful. Um, and they're pretty short chapters, so I kind of go through them pretty quickly. But the one that I just finished reading was about how to be a friend and how to be a good Christian friend. And I was like, okay, I feel that that is probably a good topic to talk about. Not saying that anyone out there that is listening is not a good Christian friend, but I feel that sometimes we don't know how to be a friend, and sometimes we don't know how to make friends. And I mean, if you've heard my testimony, which I've talked about a lot, or the testimony that I shared at my church, right, which was like the last, what now, it's been like 2 years of my life, and what the Lord has taught me through that. And I can 100% relate to not knowing how to be a friend and also not knowing how to make friends. When I was younger, uh, like elementary school, I feel like it was difficult for me to make friends. And then came middle school, and I felt that like I made good friends, but I was also bullied a lot. Um, and I feel that I just like allowed it to happen simply because I wanted friends, and these friends seemed to be quote unquote good friends. And then I went to high school, and then I felt that like in high school I became friends with like everyone, but I was so like determined on having the most amount of friends that I didn't really take the time to like nourish some really good friendships. So I was just kind of like sprinkled here and sprinkled there. And I never really like developed like deep relationships with anyone really, right? And that honestly was kind of hurtful in its own way, but it was my own doing. It was my own fault. Because I would see like groups of people, and they would always hang out, and they would always do this, and they would, have their secrets or their inside jokes or whatever. And I was never really a part of it because I wouldn't dedicate my time to like one set group of friends. I was just kind of bouncing around everywhere. And that kind of made it difficult. And then I went to college, and college is like a whole different ballgame when it comes to making friends. um I feel that like people aren't as social, right? Like you're there to get an education, and then like that's it. And I would make friends like at the places that I would work at, but then when I would quit, then it was kind of difficult to keep those friendships going. And it wasn't until like I moved out, and I had no choice but to make friends because I moved far away from my family and far away from honestly anyone that was familiar to me. Um, and I had to make friends, and I made friends at my workplace, which some of them I still talk to till this day, even though it's been like 12 years. And one of them I actually married. But as time goes on and life goes on, my husband and I, in comparison to all of our friends, we got married really young. I had just turned 23, and my husband was 24. And none of our friends that we had were even or like remotely had marriage on their mind, right? Like everyone wanted to be partying, everybody wanted to be drinking and clubbing and all of that stuff, right? And we would still go out and hang out with our friends, but we realized that like once we got married, we lost some friends because they just didn't agree with us like being married. But it was like, well, you have a significant other, like you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, right? Like what's the difference, sort of a deal, right? Like if you can go out with your boyfriend, girlfriend, like why can't I bring my husband along or my wife along? um but it was just, yeah, they're like somehow we became like forbidden because like, oh no, they're married, right? Like they can't be fun, but like we were out doing the same things that they were. um and then we moved, and then we had to make a new set of friends, right? But when we moved, like we were working so much that it just kind of made it difficult to make friends, even though we were working all the time and we were seeing the same people all the time, right? It just there just like wasn't any time to like hang out. But I became friends with some of my clients, which some of those clients I still talk to today, even though it's been what 9 years or so. One of them actually came last week, and she surprised me. She lives by me, and I hadn't seen her in years. And I just got a knock on my door, and she was there, and I was like, "Oh, hi!" Like I text her, and we talk from time to time. But she just kind of showed up at my house, which I'm very grateful that I had finished putting away all the laundry because I would have felt some type of way if she came and on my couch was, all my underwear and stuff. But I had just finished putting it away. My house was not the cleanest, but at that point I was like, well, whatever, you're already here. But it was nice seeing her. But after that, then we moved again, and then we had to make friends there. But at this point, it was difficult because we moved to like a really, really, really small town, and the only place we ever went to was literally work. And my husband technically wasn't allowed to be friends with anyone because he was the boss. Um, but then I was like, well, I need to make friends, right? So it was like a really like weird kind of, I don't know. It was just a weird place to be in because like I wanted to be friends and have my friends come over to my house, but then like my husband was there who was their boss, and it was just an awkward situation to kind of deal with. But then we had a baby, right? We had my daughter, and then we lost some group of friends because it was like, oh no, now they have a kid, right? And then we moved back, and my husband was working a lot. And this was when my husband's drinking problem was really, really bad, and he made friends through his drinkingness. um, but I just didn't connect with any of these wives because, like, to me, I was doing everything that I thought I could do to make my husband stop drinking. And, these wives, like, didn't really care that their husbands drink. And it was just like, I need someone who's going to support me in seeing and knowing that what he's doing is wrong, right? Um, but then my husband got sober, and then we lost all those friends because now we weren't drinking, right? Um, and then once we started going to church, then we lost our other friends because it was like, oh no, now you guys are becoming church people and little Christians, and yeah, but I think that that's life, right? I think that with life, there's different phases, and you're going to go through different friends, right? And things are going to change. And if you're one of those lucky few who still has friends from like childhood, like, wow, that's amazing. But that just wasn't something for us, right? And sometimes my husband and I will talk about how, like, my daughter, for example, um she's had friends. She's only in first grade, but like she's had friends that she's known since preschool, right? So that's like 3 years, um, which is a long time for for little kids, or at least a long time for us, because when we were in elementary school, we definitely didn't have friends, like that. And we know their parents, and we'll hang out, and we'll have play dates, and we'll have different things and dinners and stuff. And we're just like, wow, like how blessed are our kids, right? That like they have friends, and like we've become friends with their parents, and like these are kids that are going to potentially grow up together, and potentially these are friends that they're going to have for like life, right? I mean, we don't know what can happen, but we think about these things and we're like, wow, like how amazing is that we're able to create these like friendships for our children. But that's life, right? You're gonna go through phases, and you're gonna kind of feed in and feed out of different people in your life. um but what I've always struggled with is making friends and like keeping them. For a while, I would pick the wrong friends. I would pick these friends who I would kind of like invest a lot of time in, like almost like a desperate investing in them, and always texting, always calling, um, always like trying to plan things, always trying to do everything. And it felt like none of it was really being reciprocated. Um, and these friendships were like draining, right? And these people saw kind of like my desperation to be their friend, and they took advantage of that. And it it definitely hurt, and I felt that, kind of after the third or the fourth friend that I had, where they just kind of tore me down. I was like, nope, I don't need friends, I don't need people, I don't need anything, right? um but then this was when I started going through the bad anxiety, and the panic attacks came, and we were slowly starting to get more involved in church. And um, I could tell that people wanted to talk to me, and I could tell that people wanted to get to know me, but I had such high walls up because of all of this past hurt that I had from previous friendships, that I just wasn't willing to put it down. I wasn't willing to knock it down. Um, and if you want to grow, and if you want to develop like strong friendships, you need to knock those walls down, and you need to be vulnerable. And that was what I struggled with the most, was just being vulnerable and opening up. Um, because to me, being vulnerable meant that you were giving people power to hurt you, and you were showing weakness, right? If you like admitted that you were struggling with something, it meant that, oh wow, that's their weakness, I'm going to attack them right there. But when I started having my panic attacks, I had no choice but to become vulnerable to some people, where I would call them crying, like, hey, I cannot handle my day right now, like I cannot handle my kids right now, like I cannot handle life right now. Um, and they'd be like, all right, I'm coming over, or all right, come on over. Okay, I'll feed you. All right, let's do this, and I'm so grateful for those people that would answer my phone calls, and that would answer my text messages, whenever it was that I was feeling at my worst, because they were truly, truly a huge blessing to me. Um, because when you're in those moments of like pure panic, like it 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 feels like you're dying, like it feels like you're gonna die, it feels like, one wrong step and you're on the floor. Like that's how bad these like physical symptoms feel. And even if you try to mentally tell yourself like it's just a panic attack, it's gonna pass, it's gonna be fine, like nothing you can say even to yourself is going to get you out of it. And so I needed distraction. I needed to just know that my kids were going to be safe, because I think that that's where my main like trigger was that like if I drop dead right now, like what's going to happen to my kids? So if I was at someone else's house, and even if I was feeling panicky at someone else's house, it was like, well, if I drop dead here at their house, my kids will be safe, right? Like my kids will be with someone. And just doing that and thinking that like helped me kind of reach out more. And I know that that sounds very morbid, um, but that's how I truly believe that the Lord had to push me in order for me to be like, okay, I'm going to open up. I'm going to allow these people that He's already put in my life, but like that I wasn't willing to let in. And this is how I'm going to be able to cultivate these deeper friendships. Because like I couldn't do it on my own and I wouldn't do it on my own, but I knew that that's what I needed. And I think that we all know that that is what we need. We all need deep friendships. We all need community. We all need people on our side because life is already difficult as it is. But when you're trying to do it all on your own, you're only making it that much harder for yourself. So, how do you become a good Christian friend or the best Christian friend, right? I don't know. But based off this chapter that I was just reading, it kind of just concluded to be the friend that you wish you had. And that could mean a random text message, a random phone call, a random like, hey, I'm gonna drop this off at your doorstep. Or just like reaching out and being like, hey, do you need help with this? Hey, do you need some dinner? Hey, like let's meet up for coffee, right? Like whatever you wish a friend would do for you, and it can be like a hypothetical friend. However you want a friendship to be that kind of friend to someone else. And those who are meant to be in your life are going to welcome that and are going to appreciate that. And those who are, going to think that you're too much, they will push away. But that's not to be discouraging because, like, we're not going to be for everyone. We're not going to get along with everyone, but it is our job to still love everyone. And I think that that's like where I struggle with, right? Because I know that like even just recently, like I'll try and kind of push myself to be friends with someone and I'll text and I'll be like, hey, let's hang out and let's do this, right? And then like they kind of don't feed into that or they kind of don't reciprocate that. And I'm just like, oh, well, screw you. Okay, that's how my brain works. But sometimes it's just not a match. Sometimes personalities don't match. Sometimes they're just really busy and they don't have time for any friend, right? And we have to learn to like not take that to heart and not take offense to that. Um, but you know what? We're called to love them anyways, and I'm gonna keep pushing. I'm gonna be like, you know what? Maybe I won't text you for a few weeks, and maybe I'll say hi to you, when I see you around. But then I'm going to keep trying to reach out and keep trying to show you that if you need a friend, I will be here for you. I truly love sending people random texts. Um, and I don't know if it's me or if it's the Lord who just kind of puts these people in my mind. Because I will be, going about my day. I'm cooking dinner and then be like, oh, you know who I haven't seen lately? This person, right? And so I will grab my phone and be like, hey, just thinking about you. Hope you're doing good. Or like, hey, how's, this and this going or whatever. Because I understand that as people, we go through busy seasons and we're not able to talk to our friends as much or see our friends as much, right? So like, I get that. Um, so I like to just remind people that I am thinking about them because I do think about a lot of people a lot of the time. I think about people more than I think about myself, which I guess is a good thing, right? um, but I'll be like doing things and I'm just like, oh, hey, didn't this person have this test? Or didn't that person have a job interview? Or didn't this person just have a baby? Or didn't, and like, it'll be put on my heart and I will shoot anyone a text at any given time. Well, maybe not in the middle of the night, but I have had friends text me in the middle of the night because they know that I'm awake. um, and we'll have a conversation at that point. But I love sending people random texts like, hey, I'm thinking about you. Hey, I hope you're doing good. Hey, I hope this and that. Um, and I love when those conversations, or when those text messages turn into conversations, right? Um, and and if they don't, well, then that's okay. I'm not going to take offense to that. But just know that I will reach out again, to let you know that I have been thinking about you and I have you in my heart. And whenever I do send a little text, I will always pray. Just be like, hey, Lord, I pray and hope that they're okay, that everything is fine, that that they know your love, and I pray that this be a blessing to them. And that's it. Short, little, cute little prayer. And I love when random people text me. I don't always have my phone with me. It's always, I don't know. My phone is always, I don't know, really. Um, but I will respond to a text kind of almost immediately when I'm in my car, because my car notifies me when I have a text message. And to be honest, I'm in my car a lot. So if it seems like, oh, hey, she responds really fast, it's like, it's because I'm probably in my car. And if I don't respond to you while I'm in my car, I'm going to forget, and then I'm never going to respond to you ever. But I do enjoy when random people text me. So, because I enjoy it, I feel that, oh, to be a good friend, I think someone else will enjoy that too. I love asking people if they need anything, right? If I'm going to the store that's far away, which technically we still live in a small little city, so nothing's truly far away, but sometimes it's inconvenient to drive an extra 15 minutes somewhere. Um, so if I'm going somewhere in the opposite direction that, like, I know we don't live in, I'll be like, hey, I'm going to head up to this store. Do you need anything, right? And sometimes I'll be like, oh, yeah, you know what? Can you get me this? And sometimes it's like, no, thanks. Like, I'm good. Um, but just like little things like that, I like that, and I enjoy when someone else does that for me, right? Like, hey, I'm gonna head to this place, do you need anything? And I'm like, yeah, actually, you know what, I need this. Or sometimes it's a, no, you know what, I don't really need anything, but thanks for thinking about me, right? I think as people, we just like to be thought of. um we like to feel important, right? Like, we like to feel loved. And for me, my way of showing people love, and I guess we can go through the love languages, um is it acts of service? Is that what it would be? Right? Like, I love doing things for other people. That's what makes me feel loved, like when people do things for me. So obviously I'm going to assume that that's how other people feel loved, right? But I just I just really enjoy doing it. I just truly enjoy just like helping people. um I Yeah, like, if I could give all my time to absolutely everyone evenly, equally, every day, like, I would, but I can't, because one, I'm human, and two, as much as I love helping people, I am sort of an introvert, so it does take me a long time to kind of recover from just being around people. I know, the irony, right? But if I have a whole long day of socializing, I'm just like, oof, I am wiped out. And it's not that I'm like physically tired, it's just that I'm mentally tired because my brain was trying to process conversations and things, right? And I still deal with a little bit of the social anxiety aspect of it. So my brain is like thinking like, don't say something stupid, don't say something stupid, don't say something stupid, right? So that takes a little bit extra power. So by the time I'm done, I'm like, oof, that was exhausting. I don't want to see people for the next 20 years. um but I do enjoy doing things for people. So, like, if I can go to the grocery store for you and then leave you groceries at your front doorstep where I don't actually like have to have a conversation with you, like that, that is me being the perfect Christian friend. Because sometimes conversations just take a lot out of me, but I still want to show you that I love you. So I will go get you groceries, or I will go pick up some lunch, or do something, right? And just leave it at your doorstep so I don't have to talk to you. And I don't mean that in a rude way, but that is just how I work. So how can you be a good Christian friend? Just be the friend that you wish you had. And that could be a hypothetical friend, or maybe you can think of someone in your life who's like, man, she's a really good friend to me. Then reciprocate that to other people, right? like I said, people want to feel loved, and our job is to love everyone. And um, for me to love everyone is I will send you a random text and ask you if you need something, and I will go leave it at your doorstep. It's just little things that I enjoy doing. I love um, giving people little surprises. I don't like surprises as much. But I like doing other things for other people. But honestly, I think that the number one way that you can be a good Christian friend is to just be there for someone when they need you. um, Being vulnerable with someone, which I know is really hard, we all struggle with that. um, but being vulnerable makes you relatable, and it helps someone else feel not so alone, because sometimes we feel that all of our troubles and all of our worries are only things that are in us, and only things that like we're thinking of, and that no one else worries about these things. Nobody else thinks these things, but I promise you that we all worry and we all think about the same things. But I would say the best way for you to be a Christian friend is to just pray for the people that are in your life. You can tell them you're praying for them, but honestly, I just kind of go through a list. I'm like, you know what? I haven't seen this person in a while, so I'm going to pray. I pray that everything's well. I pray that they're well. I pray that, they feel God's love in everything that they do and every day, and that they don't forget about God's love. Um, and, you know, share a meal from time to time with people. I know we get busy, but sharing meals with people. Jesus shared meals with everyone. Jesus was me. I love food. I love cooking for people. Well, I don't think he cooked, but like, I love sharing meals with people. I love having people over at my house, and just cooking for people and feeding people and stuff. Um, yeah, I mean, I honestly just pray and hope that if someone is listening to this and they're my friend, or they think that they're my friend, I pray that they know, one, how much I love them, but I I pray that they know that I'm trying my best to be the best friend that I can be to them. So today, I'm not really learning to let go of anything, but I'm learning to be more vulnerable, and be more open. But also I'm learning to just be more loving, and showing people that I care, because I know that it blesses me when people show me that they care about me, and I want to be able to do that for someone. Um, and I just pray that as time goes on, that I can become an even better friend to people, um, and that people can see, that my heart truly, the things that I do truly comes from my heart. It truly comes out of love, and it's not for manipulation, or it's not for, gain. It's not for self gain. Like it's not because I feel that I have to do it, or you feel that I had to do it. Like, no, I do it because I genuinely care, um, and because I genuinely want to. And I pray that the people that are friends with me can see that, can see my genuineness in our friendships, because I am a new creation.